Welcome to What is Self-Care Anyway with Janie Egan. My name is Haley Bekos, and I'm very excited to see you all at the 2020 LoVE Conference. This conference is hosted by the Office of Leadership Development, sponsored by Xfinity and Coca-Cola, and in partnership with the Wellness Resource Center and Career Center. I'm very pleased to welcome Janie Egan from Temple's Wellness Resource Center. I'm going to hand this over to Janie to introduce herself.
Hi there, welcome. I'm the Mental Wellbeing Program Coordinator at the Wellness Resource Center, and I can share more about what we do in a few moments. I'm really happy to be offering some content for the LoVE Conference and really glad that folks are either here today or engaging in the recording. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So today we're going to be talking about self-care, and this is really an important discussion from my perspective, and I'm kind of biased, but we're going to be talking about this in the context of navigating different aspects of self-care, college life, and leadership development, because the way we take care of ourselves really impacts how we show up as leaders, and it really supports all aspects of life. So, like I said, I want to share a little about the Wellness Resource Center. So we are Temple's health promotion office, and we provide intentional learning opportunities for the Temple community around alcohol and other drug education, interpersonal violence prevention, mental well-being, which is what I do, and sexual health. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BeWellTU. And there are other ways to connect with us as well. Our website is wellness.temple.edu. There's a whole schedule of our live programs, additional resources, and other information about our work. And then you can always email us at tuwellness@temple.edu. I want to begin by acknowledging that it's okay to feel stress, worry, anxiety, other emotions at various points in our lives, and especially now. This year, 2020, has been challenging in so many ways with the public health response to COVID-19, the election cycle, and the efforts for racial justice. These are things that it would be very natural for emotions to be coming up around these issues. And so it's okay, and you're not alone if you're feeling some of that. My hope is that I can provide some strategies that can help us take care and fully show up to all that we care about, including various roles that we have, and that might be leadership roles, or we might be in various roles showing up as leaders. And so self-care can be a really important part of our daily routines to help us fully show up. At the WRC, we take a holistic approach to wellness, and this means that we understand that we're all whole, complex human beings, and that we know that we're all balancing different dimensions of wellness all the time, and that what that balance looks like will be different for each of us at different points in our lives based on different resources that we have. So I think it's important for us to keep this context in mind that we're all doing our best to find balance, and it's a constant journey. We're never sort of done finding this. There will always be things that come up, and in different ways that we're trying to find balance at a given time. So we can't really talk about self-care unless we talk about stress. So maybe contrary to popular belief, some stress is good for us. Some stress can be motivating, can provide opportunities for growth and learning. And we each have this area, or not to use the same word again, but balance, where we have optimal performance. So where we can balance our stress levels so that we are really in that motivated, growth-oriented frame. If we have too much stress, it can lead to burnout, other negative physical, mental impacts, and we want to avoid those as much as possible. And this is a process, so we're all continuing to get to know ourselves and get to know different strategies that work for us at different times. So again, it's not something that we're ever done with as human beings. That's sort of a journey that I think we're always on. So it's sort of an ebb and flow rather than a destination. So when we feel this negative stress or distress, we can call it, this is a result of feeling like we don't have what we need to cope with our demands. So demands are all of the things that pull our time and attention, various roles that we play, hats that we wear, relationships, classwork, different jobs or opportunities that we might be involved with. Those are demands, right? Resources are the things we use to cope with those demands. So that could be something really tangible, like your planner, how you organize your time. That could also be your support system, people that you trust, that you can share your feelings with. That's a resource too, even if we don't think of it in that way. We can balance this equation to reduce feelings of distress, and this happens in a lot of ways. We could change our mindset to focus on things that are within our control. So I know that there's a lot we can't control right now, but there are things that we can do individually in our daily lives to refocus. So that's an option. We could decrease demands, and folks who may be viewing this or who are here might be really high achieving folks involved in a lot of things. And so it can be helpful for some students to really think about everything that's on their plate and decide, which opportunities can I really be present for? Can I really show up fully to and get the most out of that really aligns with goals? So that might mean decreasing some demands and saying no to some opportunities or taking some things off of your plate. And then increasing resources is really where we'll focus our time with self-care. But this is, again, something within our control that we can try to increase the resources we have, increase utilizing what resources we know work for us. And this can be helpful for a lot of folks, especially in daily activities. So I want to talk about self-care, and if any folks who are here, if you want to share in the chat, something that comes to mind when you encounter the term self-care, any associations you have with it, I would welcome that. I think we get a lot of messages, especially from social media, about self-care. And while I think that open conversation about it is important, it may also lose some of its meaning that way. Many folks associate things like face masks and bubble baths and, indulgence and treating yourself as self-care. And those can definitely be ways that we take care, right? So there's nothing wrong with those methods, but that we might lose some nuance there. Self-care is not only those things. Yeah, some folks are sharing in the chat, taking time for yourself instead of focusing on everything around you all the time. Absolutely. And someone else shared that they like to dance at a Zumba class once a week. That's really fun. So self-care is really just all about prioritizing our well-being on a regular basis. So we have a framework that we like to share with folks around, what this could look like. Self-care is doing what helps us feel well regularly. So these activities can be really proactive and preventive practices to help us build our capacity to tolerate stress and sort of deal with the everyday stressors or emotions that can come up. So our framework includes 4 sort of areas of our wellness, and we like to think about this in terms of routines. So like I said, this is a regular practice. So working on daily or weekly routines for some of these things can really help us feel energized, feel like our metaphorical cup is full for whatever demands we have on our plate. Sleep is the first one. So we know that rest and sleep is so important for our well-being. Food, so nourishing our bodies with food that makes us feel our best. Movement or joyful movement is a reframe of exercise, and you time, doing things that make you feel like yourself. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about each of these areas. Sleep and rest. So we know that sleep is really crucial not only for our physical well-being, but our mental well-being as well. It can help regulate emotions. It also supports memory and learning, which is probably the biggest piece of why folks are students, right? You want to learn new skills, you want to learn things and grow, and sleep is really important for facilitating that process. So as far as routines, folks can aim for consistency throughout the week, so going to bed and waking up around the same time each day, and attaching some routines before bed, so winding down in ways that are relaxing and finding ways to energize you when you wake up in the morning. These can be really supportive routines. And then folks tend to ask me about naps, so I included this. Naps can definitely be health promoting. I would recommend folks keep them shorter. So power nap all the way. 20 to 30-minute naps are really the most effective for maybe giving another boost of energy for the rest of the day while not disrupting nighttime sleep. So many of us have had that really too long afternoon nap experience where you might feel groggy or overly tired, and then it's hard to get back into a groove with the rest of your day, and then maybe harder to fall asleep that night. So shorter naps can be helpful. So for food and meal times, again, we want to nourish our bodies with foods that make us feel our best. So this can be a variety of foods from all the different food groups, all of that good stuff, eating regular meals. And so folks may find it helpful to schedule breaks for meals, especially if you have really busy days, or if you're finding it hard to get on a consistent meal schedule. Maybe scheduling that, adding reminders can help build in that time for nourishment. Joyful movement. I mentioned that this is sort of a reframe of exercise, because exercise, that term might not resonate with everyone, or it might give us associations of something that is more of a punishment than a nourishment. So we can really reframe movement as a form of nourishment. We're sort of giving our bodies something that make it feel good. And that's really what it should be. So we know that regular movement can support well-being and help us work through moments of distress, but it should be done in ways that feel right for each of us based on our own body's ability, range of movement, and we should be doing activities that we actually enjoy. It shouldn't feel like a punishment. Okay, and then the last area is you time, making time to do things that help you feel like yourself. And this, there's no rules here. This part is all up to you. What helps you feel like yourself? Maybe that is staying connected to someone or, to other folks in your life, especially right now, while it might be a bit harder to stay connected. Sometimes people really need alone time to recharge, and that could be you time. Creative activities can also be a really lovely way to have this you time, maybe, something creative, crafty, some kind of hobby. And then relaxation or reflection techniques might also be helpful for folks. Mindfulness, journaling, other opportunities for self-reflection can be a great part of this. And this whole framework is just a framework. You make the decisions here, you make the rules about what your self-care looks like. We just hope that this frame might provide you with a starting point. So I'd like to offer a moment for reflection, and you can just think about these questions. Folks who are here in the live session, you could share in the chat if you wanted to, but no pressure. How does self-care impact how we show up in leadership roles or other roles that we have? How can students integrate self-care practices into daily life? I think these questions are important and may not be the easiest to answer or put into practice, but self-care really can help us show up fully to all that we care about. And I think that's kind of a reframe of maybe what our societal views might be about taking care of ourselves. I think many folks, and myself included at some points in my life, may consider self-care as an extra. Like, oh, I can do that after I've taken care of all my work. But we can flip that around. Self-care can help us do that work better. So these are things we can keep reflecting on as folks move into leadership roles or find themselves acting as a leader in whatever role you may have. I think when we model for others what self-care can look like, that can change a culture, that can change a team dynamic, that can change a relationship. So those boundaries can be really helpful, not only for your well-being, but to model that for others. Yeah, so some ideas for integrating self-care, maybe allocating 30 minutes a day. Someone else is saying that the way you carry yourself reflects on the way you act toward others. If you have confidence, it shows. Being captain of my high school cheer team was a big role I had to fill. Some people looked up to me, and I needed to carry myself in a good way. Being stressed and down doesn't help when being in a leadership position. Someone else shared, when you take care of yourself, you can show up better for others. Also, students can take time to turn off devices and spend time in silence for a few minutes. Yeah, there's so many good things here. I think it is like being the captain or being in some other leadership role. What you do, people are paying attention, and that doesn't mean that we should only do things for that reason. But I think it may be a motivator to know that you have some positive influence over others, perhaps, and that what you do can positively impact your peers, your friends, your colleagues. And I think that's really cool. That's really empowering. Screen time and virtual fatigue are really, really big issues right now for a lot of folks, right? We're on screens, we're in this virtual life all the time, and that can be really draining. So spending some time in silence, spending some time off of screens might feel really, really restful. I'm also noticing someone had submitted a question, so I can take this moment to answer this question. What's the best strategy that you use to get out of a stressful mindset? That's a really great question. I think it's going to vary based on each person. It's a really individualized question. So I can't say, here's the best way to manage stress or to get out of, this stressed mindset. And maybe this isn't, the most popular or desired answer, but I think it is kind of self-experimentation, getting to know ourselves and experimenting with different strategies and reflecting, well, I tried this journaling thing. That didn't really work very well, or I'm not really seeing much progress here. So I think it's all about reflection and trial and error, getting to know ourselves. So I hope that's helpful. Okay, so I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about how we can cope with feelings of distress. So self-care, really wonderful daily practices to take care of ourselves. And like I shared before, it can be really preventive, proactive, can be really health supporting and promoting, but we're all human beings and we're all going to have things come up that throw us for a loop, that maybe overwhelm us or evoke feelings. That's part of the human experience. So I'm going to share some strategies that you may consider exploring for these moments. And again, it is sort of an experiment to figure out what might work, what have you tried already, and it's kind of a journey in that way. So my first strategy is to disrupt the moment. So when we're feeling some intense emotions, that can be overwhelming. So we can disrupt that moment in a lot of ways. We could switch up our environment if that's possible. Get outside, move to a different room, maybe even just step away from your computer for a little bit, switching up the environment or getting away from whatever it is that is causing distress. Moving your body can be really helpful, and this can actually help close the stress response cycle by moving, and it doesn't have to be like a full workout or something really intense. Just getting up, moving, doing a little like shake or wiggle, any kind of movement can support the closing of that stress response cycle. Splashing cold water on your face or taking a shower or a bath or taking a few slow, deep breaths. These are all ways that we can disrupt an emotional moment. Next, I have acknowledge feelings. So many people find that labeling or noting a feeling by name can help us put some space between ourselves and that feeling or the thoughts that accompany that feeling. So if we can sort of take a step back and label a feeling, say, okay, I'm feeling really frustrated about this situation. That may, just by labeling it, help us process through that feeling a little bit more. And we're not our feelings. We are not our thoughts. These are things that come and go and don't identify us. And this can be a helpful strategy for moving through that. And we can practice being kind to ourselves. We can often be our own worst critic. And maybe we say things to ourselves that we would never say to a really close friend, for example. So we can reframe some of those internal thoughts. How would I treat my best friend if they were going through this emotion right now or this situation? How would I treat them? What would I say to them? And try that on yourself. Can you say to yourself things that you would say to a good friend? Next, I have focus on what you can control. So I shared about this a little bit at the beginning of the program, but really this can be helpful to move some of that energy into things that you can actually control. Reaching out to someone you trust to get some support. Maybe you need a vent session, or maybe you need some more support, and there are campus resources available to help you. Maybe it's getting organized. Some people really like to, make to-do lists or get organized, and that can feel really helpful to manage responsibilities and get things under control. So that's a great option. And then the last one is about relaxation techniques. So I mentioned that this can be a self-care practice, so something that we could do regularly when we're not feeling intense emotions, but we can also turn to some of these things when we are feeling those emotions. We could take up a journaling practice or just turning to writing during an intense moment, and I'm going to share more about that in a moment. Visualization is also a potentially relaxing technique. So taking a break, visualizing yourself in a really calming place or a place where you feel comfortable and supported, whatever that means for you. Practicing mindfulness can also be really helpful. And I'm going to be offering 2 mindfulness sessions as part of the conference, so folks can get some practice with what that means, what that could feel like. And there are lots of ways to practice mindfulness, more formally in a guided practice, which is what I'm going to be offering, and informally. So we can bring mindful awareness or focusing on the present moment during our daily activities. For example, when you're washing the dishes or washing your hands, maybe you can just set an intention to be fully present, noticing the lather of the soap or the feeling of the water on your hands. That can be a really maybe restful or grounding moment to get present. So lots of opportunities here. So I want to talk a little bit more about journaling. So we know that writing or recording our thoughts can be helpful in a lot of ways. And this, like everything, can be customized to what we want it to be, what we need it to be. Journaling can have a lot of positive benefits. Again, I've been talking about this self-reflection, self-awareness piece. It can help with that. It can help us get to know ourselves. It can help manage stress. So a lot of people would describe it even as, just getting everything out onto paper, or, if you wanted to record like a voice memo, there are lots of ways that you can do this. It can help improve our physical functioning too. So I think it does have to do with that, stress response cycle, getting things out and really processing through them by writing or recording them. Lots of folks use journaling to help get perspective, and maybe that means through a gratitude practice. Maybe that means, writing about perspectives of others or trying to think from other people's perspectives. There are lots of ways we can use this. So journaling can be part of our daily routines or weekly routines, or, however often we want to do it. It could be something in the morning that helps get your day going. It could be a wind down routine at night. So we can also integrate our self-care routines. You can also just have something ready to go for when you have those moments. You just need to write it out. I think, as with sort of everything that I've shared, it is sort of a process. And whenever we take up new habits or try new things, there can be some perfectionism that comes into play. Like, okay, I'm gonna journal every day and do it for, every day 10 minutes a day. Things come up, life happens. Maybe we can be a little bit relaxed with the intentions we set or the goals that we set. Let go of the need to be perfect with all of these self-care routines and strategies. We don't have to be perfect. We can just do what helps us feel well and kind of tune into what we're needing in a given moment. Okay. So I'm also going to, and maybe I can share here, folks will be able to access some journal prompts. I've put together a little handout PDF that may help you explore this if that's something that you're interested in. So you should be able to access those through Socio or through some other some other way that you're accessing materials. I don't know that I can upload files in this moment, but you will have access to that. Okay, so I mentioned that I'm offering some mindfulness practices, but I thought I would offer a really quick mindful breathing exercise that can help in those moments where we might need some grounding or some calm, to invite some calm. So I'm going to offer this, and maybe we'll spend like, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes at most going through this mindful breathing activity. And there are lots of techniques out there. This is just one of them. So you're welcome to participate with me. And if not, folks who are viewing this as a recording can always revisit this or come back to it whenever you want to. So to sort of prepare for this activity, I encourage you to come into a comfortable position. So I'm sitting in a chair. You might be tuning in from some other place, your couch, the floor. You could be standing. Really, you can do this in any position, but find one that feels right for this little practice. And whenever you're ready, I invite you to close your eyes. You could also keep them open, whatever feels most available in this moment. If you want to keep your eyes open, you can have sort of a soft, unfocused gaze a few feet in front of you. But we'll just take a few moments to arrive here to this short practice. Maybe taking a few deep breaths. And you can let your breathing be as it is naturally for a few moments. Just settling in. Before I give some directions for our breathing activity. And I want you to know that if any point this becomes too intense or is not supportive for you, you can always stop and take a pause or revisit later. So we're going to practice something called ocean breathing. And if you are not in a space where you feel comfortable doing this, you can just continue to focus on your breath. Perhaps take a few deep breaths and really focus on what that feels like. Ocean breathing is kind of like pushing the air out of your body on the exhale to make a sound like the ocean. And this can help us release maybe some of that breath we're holding on to, some energy we're holding on to. So we'll start by taking a deep inhale. And with an open mouth, you can exhale. So on the exhale, you're not just breathing out normally, but you're sort of pushing it out and making a sound like you would if you were trying to fog up a window. So we'll do another one. Deep inhale. And exhale. Let's do one more. And you can let your breathing return to its natural state. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and return to our program. So thank you for participating with me. We can use this kind of activity anytime. And it doesn't even have to be very loud. You know, you can, even if you just need a deep sigh outward, you know, that might help too. Do folks have any thoughts or questions, reactions before I move on a little bit? Okay. All right. So one way that we can kind of brainstorm or think about self-care in an intentional way is by creating some kind of plan or setting intentions. And you will also have access to a self-care plan handout that I've shared with the conference team. So that can be a really helpful way, again, to just set some intentions. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, nothing is perfect. We can always be a work in progress, right? But setting some intentions can help us really think about our values and what's important to us in terms of self-care and prioritizing our well-being. So for folks who are tuning in live, if you wanted to share one way that you can take care of yourself as we move into the second half of this semester and beyond, what's one way that you can take care of yourself? I know we've talked about a lot of ways so far. So someone shared, since I'm at home, I'm always surrounded by family. So for me, it's taking time to do things by myself. Yeah, I think for many folks, that's a big thing right now. It's that balance between, you know, being with others and being alone, and how can we take care and sort of re-energize ourselves in ways that feel good based on who we're at home with or not. So we've explored a lot of ways that we can take care of ourselves. And again, these are all things that we always deserve. So I think there is this idea that, again, we can take care after we've gotten work done. but we always deserve to take care of ourselves. You never need to earn sleep. You never need to earn food based on, how much work that you've gotten done. You always deserve to take care of yourself, regardless of progress you've made on that paper or that assignment. So knowing that, we can take care and allow ourselves to then fully show up for that assignment, that project, that meeting, whatever it is that we have coming up. I think that's a really important reframe that we can try to adopt with this. Okay. Of course, there are resources to support Temple students, and I did want to mention some specifically. So self-care and these strategies I've shared are all potentially really helpful, but it's okay if you need a little more support, and there's no shame in that. There's resources that are available and ready for you to access them as you need them. Tuttleman Counseling Services, of course, is included with folks' tuition, so there's no additional cost for accessing mental health care through Tuttleman. They have a lot of different types of services for folks to take advantage of. So of course they're doing individual therapy, but they also have really great groups and groups that are kind of like workshop style and mindfulness-based activities and opportunities. So they have a lot available. Disability Resources and Services provides accommodations for students with disabilities, and those accommodations are really individualized and are based on what students need in the classroom or in residence halls or other spaces on campus. And many folks might not know this, but mental health conditions are also included in what folks can receive accommodations for. So if you know friends or peers or yourself, and that might be helpful, then please reach out to DRS. Student Health Services, of course, provides physical and medical care. And Student Activities is offering lots of opportunities for students to connect and have fun. So they're having lots of really great game style programs and other things, speakers and great things for folks to connect. So please know that there are resources to support you, and there's no shame. There's nothing wrong in seeking a little more support or needing that. So I want to open it up for folks to ask any additional questions before we wrap up for today. Questions, comments? Okay, well, I will also share my email address. If folks have questions about this content, you want to follow up with me, I'm going to put that in the chat box. So my email is just Janie, Janie @temple.edu. If you have any follow-up questions about this program, you can contact me. I also want to share a link to, we put together this resource sheet that kind of combines some of the tips that I shared with the resources that I talked about and some additional ones. So I'm sharing a link to that on our website in the chat box. So you're welcome to save that link, or I think you can download that PDF that's linked there. So yes, and please follow us at BeWellTU on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We're trying to use those platforms to get tips and resources to students because we know that there's a lot of ways to reach you right now. So it was really wonderful to offer some tips and have some conversation with you. I hope everyone takes care. And yes, enjoy the rest of your day. I have a mindfulness practice later today for folks who are live, and be sure to check out recordings of those. I look forward to sharing that with you. Thanks so much, and take good care.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Janie, for this amazing workshop. And thank you everyone for tuning in today, and I hope you all have a great day.